Without further delay, I invite Dr. Tufton to present his remarks. Dr. Tufton.
Thank you very much, Abka. Good afternoon to all who are here and to my colleagues at the head table. We thank you very much for coming, and thanks to those who are listening online. I'm happy to report that the Jamaica Labour Party's general election campaign machinery is going well so far. We're comfortable with what has been happening, and we're comfortable with the response to date. I say so with utmost respect and humility for the work that we're doing and for the Jamaican people who are looking on and responding to the message led by the Most Honorable Prime Minister and party leader. We have, as you know, rolled out our achievements document. It was important for us because we have been in office for 9+ years, and we are pleased, having reviewed the response, the demands, the requests for more, and indeed the contents and the comments related to the contents, that it was the right thing to do, and the feedback on the ground has been extremely positive. Our first major mass rally, for want of a better term, which was held in Halfway Tree, where we rolled out all our candidates on display and reinforced the message of the Labour Party. We are very satisfied both with the turnout, but the organization, in fact, the commentary, both from those watching in TV land or those present, is quite positive, and it is for us in keeping with the approach that we expose and we want to maintain in this campaign as we have as a government: orderly, disciplined, and hopefully effective because of the consistency of the message. So those two large events we think have gone very well, and we're happy so far with what is happening. We are not going to get complacent, however, nor distracted, and there's a lot of noise in the environment. Our focus is to continue the work, and there are other things that will happen in the coming days and coming weeks, and you will be told or be kept abreast of those developments as they unfold. Nomination day, we're all set for that. That's on Monday, and our candidates are very confident, are prepared, are adding the final touches on the ground in their constituencies, in their communities, and oiling their machinery to make a positive impact and, of course, to get the best possible result, which is to get them elected to the Parliament. We have our own program, and we're pursuing our program, but it is a competitive space, and we have to take note of what the others are doing, and indeed where we think we need to comment, we comment. We do notice that the People's National Party rolled out a document that they have termed their manifesto, and we want to spend a little time today with the team to comment on aspects of that document. Not everything, but certain aspects of it, and my colleagues here on the platform are going to take different areas. I just want to give a general summary, however, in the first instance, and then a quick summary on the health aspect, given that I man that portfolio. First of all, it clearly seemed to have been a very rushed and hurriedly prepared document, just by way of how it was laid out, and the errors that were in the document forces us to conclude that not a lot of thought went into it, and clearly the time that should have been spent that one would expect for an organization that is hoping to provide leadership in the country, that was certainly betrayed based on what we saw presented to the country. Having perused the document, we found multiple spelling errors, as a case in point. We were chastised for one spelling error in our achievements document. It wasn't an error on our part, but nevertheless, we took the criticisms, and they did a lot of that criticizing. their document had multiple, not one. I think the last count was about 8 or more, and that's just the spelling error. There were several inaccuracies in the document. The one that was quite outstanding to us is the reference to, in the table of contents, of 8 pillars, then the address by their leader of 10 pillars in the document, the same document, and then the term love, Jamaica love, which has each letter referring to a document, an area of focus, and that is 11 areas of focus. So the first question I would ask is, what is it? Is it a pillar of 8, a pillar of 10, or a pillar of 11? Clearly what it signals to us is that it is confusing, and you wonder if that is the approach that they would want to take to providing leadership as a government. I mentioned that because it sounds simple, but they made a big issue with it when they noticed the one spelling error in our document. And clearly it reflects on them and what they represent. For us, the manifesto seemed to have been a copy and paste wish list, ranging from being incoherent to major imitation of what currently entails and what this government is doing. And my colleagues will speak more on that. In one case, it had a number of impractical suggestions that we think would need a lot more explanation and raises more questions than answers. And in another case, they seem to have repeated a lot of what the government is doing. And we are doing it with success, and we'll elaborate a little more on that. You know, they promised to reduce electricity costs, for example, but as you know, the debate, the discussion around them signing an electricity deal that drove up the cost of electricity. It is now that this government and the Minister Vaz, is now attempting to renegotiate that arrangement in order for the consumers, for the Jamaican people to benefit. The manifesto appears to be promoting ideas that seems not well thought out or risk reversing the gains we believe that we have made in terms of our economic model. And the theme Jamaica loves doesn't reconcile if that's the direction the country is going to go in, because it's one thing to say you love Jamaica and love Jamaicans, but if your policies and programs run a risk of increasing debt, increasing poverty, and increasing unemployment, then clearly that is not a love that is worthy of note or certainly acceptance. And there are several examples of them prescribing certain policies that runs counter to what their theme captures in their manifesto. Our campaign has focused on critical achievements, and with good cause, because we have been in government for such a long time. And our achievements that we have listed, all 256, are tangible achievements. And we will continue to appeal to the Jamaican people to judge us on those achievements: the reduction in poverty, reduction in crime, the increase in unemployment, the largest job creation that has ever taken place, and several other achievements which we have put out on display and which have impacted people on the ground. That for us is the big pitch, and why we humbly suggest it justifies us remaining in office for the next 5 years. I'm going to spend a few minutes on health because, again, in keeping with the cut and paste approach, a number of things were suggested within the health portfolio that we are in fact addressing. They speak about maternal care, and I know they have made some issues with that in the past year. Maternal mortality is actually trending down. In the COVID years, it was just over 200. It's now 133 in a year ago. We're still tracking the numbers to see what it was last year. we have done a number of things to impact maternal mortality, in improving engagements with mothers early in their pregnancy, governance and monitoring, facilities and equipment that have been upgraded, a lot more engaging approach at the primary healthcare level. In fact, the statistics indicate that last year, some 45% of mothers visit with their health centers to get medical care and support and advice, as opposed to almost half that amount 3 years prior. And this was after COVID. So we are seeing significant improvements, and those improvements will continue. And what they are proposing in their manifesto is what we are actually doing. They speak about the National Health Fund and the expanded care that they propose to provide in under the National Health Fund. Since 2015, 9 conditions of illness have been added to the National Health Fund. So the government has actually expanded coverage under the National Health Fund. We have added sickle cell disease, lupus, cervical cancer, attention deficit disorder, colorectal cancer, multiple myeloma, lung cancer, Parkinson's disease, and thyroid disease. In other words, these were areas that were not covered under the PNP and are now covered under this administration. In 2015, less than 1 million prescriptions were written. Last year, 3 million prescriptions were written. We have more outlets for drug dispensation, which we are giving more drugs. We're treating more categories of illnesses. And within the appropriate time when our manifesto is unveiled, we will speak more about the additional role that the National Health Fund will take on. They speak about the diaspora and making it easier to donate. There's a number of things that we have done as a government to improve diaspora engagement. My colleague, Minister of Foreign Affairs, is beside me, and she can comment on some of those things, but we've effectively set up an entity within the ministry. We have direct staff that now deals with diaspora arrangements. We have eliminated the cost to ship things in once they are verified as donations. We have made it easier to deal with clearance, customs clearance, with approvals if it's a medical mission. And one reflection of that success is the Adopt a Clinic program, where 55 health centers have been adopted across the country, and maybe 70% or thereabouts of those are linked to persons living in the diaspora. No other government has engaged the diaspora as effectively, not just in health, but in all areas. Credit to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, who has primary responsibility for that area. The final one I'll mention, even though there are several others, to allow my other colleagues to come in, is cancer care. It is a big area, and the government is seized with that. It's the fastest growing area of illness, even though it's not the largest cause of mortality in the country. We have done a number of things, both on the prevention side, where the issues around unhealthy diets, physical inactivity, tobacco legislation, alcohol, air pollution, the HPV vaccine, which has been introduced to the population, the introduction of the fecal immunochemical test for colorectal cancer screening in primary healthcare facilities, mammograms, which were not available before, are now available. We need to do more, but we have started to introduce those testing. It's available at KPH and Cornwall Regional, pap smear screening, and improvement in the turnaround time. Diagnostic services are more available today than they were in 2015 when they were there. I'm prepared to say we have more to do, but we are certainly better off, and we're on a journey that will take us to even a better place in the next term. And in terms of clinical care, we have had a technical working group updating clinical guidelines on breast, prostate, colorectal, and cervical cancers, as well as expansion of treatment services at a number of institutions, Mandeville Regional, Spanish Town, St. Anne's Bay Hospital, and, as I said earlier, 3 additional categories of cancer drugs introduced under the NHF, which never existed before. I say all of this, and it's just a summary, to say that what the PNP has done is essentially, in a sort of hodgepodge type of way, cut and paste, that's how it appears, and not very well or professional with all the errors that are present in the document, with ideas that are either being pursued with great success by this government or ideas that are impractical, and they would need to explain to the Jamaican people how they intend to implement those without putting us back to where we were when they were in office. Before I introduce my colleague, I just want to say that our manifesto is ready and will be launched at an appropriate time. And therefore, we will have a basis and hope the country and the voters will have a basis to compare and contrast. And we're very proud of the work that we have done. It is obviously a follow-on from the work that has been done over the last 9 years. And we believe it will put Jamaica at a better place and have us as a government doing even more for the people of Jamaica.